up, everyone? This is episode 28 of the Glimmer Cast, and this is our first ever movie news stream. I'm a little intimidated because I'm surrounded by a bunch of super knowledgeable, super amazing folks, so they're going to help me along through my first movie talk podcast. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the panel. We got Ashley the Widow in the house, first time, or no, not first time on the channel, second time on the channel. How are you, Ashley?
Good, how are you? Happy to be here.
Yay, thank you so much. Happy Sunday to everyone. And we also have friend of the channel, DL. How are you doing today?
What's up, Rhea? What's up, everyone in the Glimmerville? Yes, I just made that up, Glimmerville.
I like
What's
it.
I love
going
it.
on, everybody?
Yes, love to see it. Thank you so much. Oh, and we have Phil, Unfiltered, super awesome podcaster around YouTube and other parts of the internet. How are you today, sir?
I'm great. Thank you for the invite. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Yeah. Again, I'm just trying to stay cool, calm, and collected, and try not to trip too much about all the movie news topics and TV news topics we're going to cover. But I know y'all have my back, so I will. I'm trying to just keep it chill.
Don't worry, we got you. We got you.
That would have been a great segue for ChillMonger, but I have to introduce Isaac first. So sorry for wasting that segue. How are you today, Isaac?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And last but not least, bonus guest of the show, ChillMonger. How are you doing today?
Bonus guest Rhea asked, "You want it?" I said, "Let's do it."
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. No, that's a great reference to the karaoke night that you had over on Film Elitis's channel, which was really fun. I enjoyed watching y'all have karaoke. But yeah, everyone in the chat, thank you so much for coming in. We got Means of Destruction in the house. What is up? And Isaac in the chat earlier, thank you so much for entertaining our lovely audience. Mattia in the house, what's up? I know that European folks oftentimes can't catch my content because it's so late in the evening for y'all. So thank you so much for showing up, Mattia. Really appreciate it. Nicotina in the house, what's up? Friend of the channel. Good to see you. Perp Minded, hello. Dark Side, hello there. And yeah, everyone in the chat, thank you so much for tuning in. And I just shared out the stream again for folks to pop in whenever. But yeah, just to give everyone a rundown of the topics. Oh, and just let me know if the audio for the background music is a little loud. But yeah, just a run through of today's topics that I wanted to cover. Morbius, discussion, especially about, the box office projections, the critical reception of the film so far, and just like our general, feelings on the film, any excitement or expectations coming into it, or perhaps post the movie coming out as well. And also, we're going to be talking about some Star Wars news, the latest on Obi-Wan, which is premiering very soon this month, I believe in a couple of days, if I'm not mistaken, and some other... May
25th.
Like, wait a minute, what? Huh?
I think that this is what
Midnight.
Yes. This is why I have people who actually know what they're talking about on my panel, so they can call me out. But yes, okay, my apologies. So
I almost had an outer body experience when they said 2 days. Wait a minute, I'm not ready.
Yes, I apologize. I apologize for any anxiety I just caused anyone for a few seconds. Additional Star Wars news we're gonna go into, such as there was some talk about Sam Jackson potentially wanting to return as Mace Windu. Chill, I know that you covered that on your channel as well. That I'm really excited to hear your take, as well as other folks' opinions on that and what's to come, or what any desired outcomes of Obi-Wan y'all would like to see, or any concerns you have about the series. We'll also be talking about Moon Knight, which I believe that's the one that is premiering very soon.
3 days.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I confused the Obi-Wan and Moon Knight. So yes, we're going to be talking about Moon Knight. Any speculation or excitement around that series, or any concerns there, we want to definitely get everyone's take on that. And let's see. I believe that is most of the topics there. Oh, and then the Batman Joker scene, of course, which I'm sure everyone has already covered ad nauseum on their own podcasts or other podcasts. But I want to definitely, circle back and see okay, yeah, it's been a few days. How do we feel about it now? What's the discourse been like in y'all's opinion? And, what are your general thoughts on it, after some time has passed? So yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and share the first article. And welcome everyone who is tuning in now. I just went through the topics we're going to go through. We're going to start with the Morbius news coverage. Let's see. Awesome. So yeah, thank you so much, Phil, for helping me glean some more information around the production slate for Morbius. So I was under the impression that this movie has been in like production hell for like four plus years. And after talking with you, Phil, about like the article and the production budget, I should say, for the film, and it finally coming out. Like there's been a lot of like speculation around like what are the metrics of success for this movie. It's getting really poor critical reception, and the projected box office for it is kind of up in the air as far as what people think is going to happen with that. But yeah, I just wanted to get Ashley. I know we've talked about this on your show on KDOT's channel, but have your feelings changed about this IP at all, or are you even more worried about it?
With everything that I've heard this week, I'm more concerned than I was 2 weeks ago when we talked about it, and 3 months when I said that I think this is going to be a complete disaster. And I feel like I'm like at an 88% chance knowing that there's nothing redeemable about this movie. It's been called uncalculated and boring. And then like certain things that they've removed from the film. It's like, why did you make this movie, and who is this movie for? So I think that it's going to be a disaster. I think it was a disaster from the jump. I think it's been a disaster now because it's also been pushed back 6 times now, and it's kind of old news. And I don't think it's going to do very well. It might, just because of people like trying to figure out, like normies, general public may be excited to go see a movie, and it might make 300 million, but it's not going to be a well-received film, and I don't think it's going to do well at all.
Got it. Okay. DL, how about you? What are your thoughts on Morbius?
Well, from the get-go, I am not on board with this Sony Spider-Verse that they're trying to do. I never liked it from the get-go. Venom and Let There Be Carnage are dumb fun and nothing more, but I didn't want them to expand on it anymore. But we're gonna get some more because people enjoyed them, so that's fine. But like, I really don't understand the end goal for the Sonyverse, and Morbius was one of them. Now, I am one of the very few people on this earth that defend Jared Leto as an actor, and I enjoy some of his stuff as the Joker. And I looked at these trailers, and like, while I don't think the movie's gonna be great, I'm like, this looks interesting. He looks pretty cool. I like his design. This might be a solid little vampire movie. But hearing all the stuff behind the scenes about, or actually no, not behind the scenes, just hearing the reactions from it, being like, oh, it's a mess. It's all over the place. Some of the worst end credit scenes ever put in a comic movie. I'm like, wait a minute, how bad is this? So yeah, now I'm going to this thinking it's going to be a disaster as well. But it makes me even more excited to see it, just to see how bad it is. And perp-minded, I like Eternal, so watch yourself. But yeah, so I can't say I had expectations for it, but now it's off the ground. Like, yeah.
Oh, got it. Your mic tuned out.
Rhea froze.
Uh-oh.
Oh
no!
That might have been me then. I might have had an internet connection issue. My apologies. But yeah, thank you for sharing that sentiment about the movie. I am a little worried about it too, but Chill, your thoughts on Morbius, you being like, a Marvel expert, actually reading the lore.
I think that my projection of this movie is going to be a flop, of course, for what Ash was mentioning with the whole, who cares? It's been kind of advertised for like, 6 different dates now? Who cares? But also, the audience is now educated on what universes are. When we looked at what happened at the end of No Way Home, Eddie Brock Venom was in the MCU. And a little symbiote went, and it left him, and he left the MCU. Like, you literally need magic or some sort of crazy way to make those people from those movies join the MCU. So now that the audience who all saw that movie, that was about 2 billion people, because unlike the DC universe, we cross $1 billion. So like that, all the people who watch Spider-Man No Way Home, they all know what a difference is between a universe one and the Sony universe. So they're like, I don't know how to see this Morbius stuff. It's not related. It's not connected. At the time when Venom was happening, people always thought, oh, Spider-Man's going to be in here. Peter Parker. Oh my God. And then there's rumors of Peter in the post-credit scene. And then we got to see that. And like that trick it's done. Like it lost its effect. The dangling of the carrot of, look, Spider-Man, the actual Tom Holland Spider-Man, is going to be related to these movies. That's gone now. Who believes that?
Okay, since you're like, firing shots on DC, I'm gonna have to toss the ball to Phil because I need you to.
Oh, not again.
Oh, for all that, I thought that was me.
Box office.
You can say something nice about DC now because she lagged.
Hey, I can tell you some nice things about DC, but go ahead, Phil.
Oh, where do I start? Should I start with DC or should I start with Morbius? Because I can kind of go one way or the other. Number one, I wouldn't necessarily call DC a billion-dollar bunk because they've had Aquaman and the Joker. The Batman could, and I'm using that word loosely, it could, but I don't see it happening. As far as Morbius goes, I mean, like Rhea mentioned, I had to do a little bit of digging because I was kind of confused on just when and where some of the shooting and production started. So production of it started in late September. I don't really remember when, but in 2019 is when they went into production of the movie. Then in February 2020, they did reshoots. And then even earlier in 2021, this year, they did some more reshoots. That said, the movie still has a budget of $75 million. So if everyone's saying that this film is as bad as it is, it's usually due to a quality issue. And if you're only going to pump out $75 million for a film like this, you're going to get what you pay for. And to DAL's point, I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of Jared Leto up until maybe after the Suicide Squad and watching a couple other films as well. Obviously, I'm a really huge fan of the Snyder Cut. I really loved his part there. I really want to see more of that Joker-Batman interaction. On the character of Morbius himself, though, that's kind of a tougher one for me because I have an affinity for the Spider-Man animated show from '94 from John Semper Jr., and that's where I was first introduced to the character. I'm not opposed to it, and like DAL mentioned, the Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage films, despite as how bad the quality of those films may be, they still did really well with general audiences. The fact that Jared Leto has a huge following of fans, like it or not, I think this movie can be in that same ballpark, and probably more so in Venom Let There Be Carnage, more so than the first film, because the first film did over $800 million. And that's nothing to scoff at, especially since the film had a $100 million budget. But I will also say that Morbius opens a week before Sonic 2, and Sonic 1 was really well received, and that debuted during a pandemic. I will also say that Sonic 2 has a lot more going for it than this film, but at the same time, Sony made this movie for $75 million. It's a low risk, low reward type of scenario. If it doesn't yield anything much, they don't have to worry about it. But if it does, more power to them. I do think it's a very poor idea to have the director on a podcast blatantly spoiling all the post-credit stuff 2 weeks before the movie comes out. What are you doing? Why would you do that? You want people to go see it for those kind of reasons, and then it's even coming out oh, some of this stuff isn't even in the movie. It's well, shit. I don't know. I'm gonna go see it, and I'm not necessarily hoping for the best, but I'm trying to go in with an open mind.
Yeah, and just to preface, exactly a lot of what Phil is saying are my sentiments as well. I couldn't have said it better myself. In fact, I wouldn't even say that we're Sony supporters and calling out that the
Again.
Oh, dang, that KFC
Third time.
Wi-Fi, man.
Third time.
Come back.
All right, I guess we're taking over.
God, that is a perfect frozen face, Rhea.
Maybe she's pranking us.
She might be. I don't know. Yeah, her connection's bad. There it goes.
Oh, yeah. No, I apologize, y'all. Yeah, I don't know how that happened. I was just saying that, to pivot from your point about being Sony supporters, is not necessarily that. It's just that they didn't even, invest in themselves enough for them to, fail at the worst expectations for this film. A $300 million international box office is not a success in any measure of the word for a major tentpole film that's connected to a larger IP like Marvel. So, but even then, we were talking about it going through the articles. Even that's going to be a win for them at the lowest expectations. But yeah,
I think that financially it might be a win, but I think that from an overall universal standpoint, that if this character doesn't connect and if people don't care about him as a character in the film, then it fails. You're trying to set up this Sinister Six team, so you can build something bigger. And if this doesn't work and it's one of your big pieces, then your vision and your plan for the future is what's at stake, not just what will I make off this film, because what they're trying to build is like these, villains of Spider-Man, so they can build to this moment where Spider-Man goes against all of them, So I think that is where they can begin to fail, because they failed before trying to, build this Sinister 16, and Sony failed then. And, Morbius, if this movie doesn't do very well, can result, in them failing again for the second time, trying to get to this epic film with these other characters. I think that's the bigger issue, outside the box office. Is this going to work well enough that we can continue this character on in future projects and build off the story that we're trying to create?
Also, Kraven's going to come out right after this. So if this movie fails, it's not going to do very well for people getting excited for Kraven. It's like, oh, you let this shit come out. How is Kraven going to go? I mean, I know they have Aaron Taylor Johnson
is playing
and
Kraven,
Russell
yes.
Crowe being in there. They have a good cast for it, but it's like they're not going to have a good standing if this movie is awful and going into Kraven and be like, is that we're going to expect more shit like this? So
How far along is Kraven in development?
Kraven is shooting right now.
They're shooting currently right now.
Yeah, okay.
Isaac, how about you? Any anticipation or expectations for Morbius based off of the low budget and critical reception so far?
Well, for over 2 years, I've already been excited for Morbius. I've always believed. I like Jared Leto's Joker. That's a hot take right there.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, he's not my favorite, but I like him for who he is. And I feel like a lot of superhero movie fans don't really know how good Jared Leto is an actor. So I always believe that Morbius could be that redemption ever since the first teaser, and I've been excited for 2 years about it. But after a week ago, or wait, when did that Cinema Blend came out? I think
It was
yesterday.
earlier this week.
Early, which one? The review one or about the stuff that
the
been
spoiler
taken
one.
out? Oh, well, yeah, that was the beginning of this week.
Yeah, and even with the negative reviews, I still was looking forward to it. But then I saw that, because typically in these interviews, the studio has to greenlight when it gets released. And the fact that Sony allowed all those spoilers to get leaked has me a little worried, because it feels like they're kind of shooting themselves on the foot right before a race. And so I'm a little frustrated with that. Although I'm still going to be supporting the Sony Marvel universe. One of my biggest hot takes is I want Spider-Man to go back to solely a Sony character, even if it is the Tom Holland version. Mainly because I've always felt, even though I love Homecoming, and Homecoming to me is a top 5 MCU movie, one thing I've always felt is Spider-Man doesn't feel special anymore. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has gone so much to multiple characters that I feel like there's 3 superheroes around every 7-Eleven at this point. And I would love for Sony just to take back Spider-Man, make their own movies. And I know there's criticisms because they made Tarzan 2, Spider-Man 3, but let's also remember they are also the same studio that made Into the Spider-Verse. They also made Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, the first Tarzan movie, and the first 2 Venom movies, which did very well financially. And so I'm still going to be supporting the Sonyverse even after Morbius, because if it does end up being as bad as the early reactions say it is, I think it's going to be a stumble. But I think that they can easily redeem themselves, because I more believe in individual films rather than a cinematic universe. Because to me, a movie should always have its main focus within the individual film rather than the cinematic universe. Because kind of like Marvel, when they first started, they did Iron Man, then they did Thor. They kind of slowly took their time, and they were like, hey, let's think about it per film, rather than, while I think Zack Snyder's DCU is one of my favorite franchises out there, one thing that always frustrated from Warner Brothers, it seemed like they were going so fast on it that they forgot that Marvel's success came from them taking their time and going through individual films. But I'm still going to be looking forward to Morbius. But I will say, after the Cinema Blend spoilers, it does kind of put me in a weird position, but I'm still going to watch it this Thursday.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you being totally transparent about your support for the Sonyverse. I know it doesn't have the best rap in the world because of how it's creating a lot of confusion and malcontent around these separated universes that only exist because the studio is unwilling to release control over the IP to the actual like Marvel Studios proper. But I think for myself, the only like optimism that I personally have is the potential for a Sinister Six movie, potential for the next Venom movie to introduce or reintroduce us. Maybe this is my pie in the sky dream speculations that Andrew Garfield would potentially be reintroduced now that we know that he exists somewhere in the multiverse still. And I don't know if like that would make sense in the overall like narrative that they're going to move forward with after Morbius comes out and then when Craven comes out. But yeah, no, that's just sort of like my initial thoughts, just surface level, without trying to have too many expectations on Morbius itself, even though it doesn't look too good. Any like closing thoughts on this topic before we move over to the Star Wars ones?
Isaac had an extreme position where he would prefer Spider-Man was exclusively a Sony movie. How about this? How about in the next MCU movie of Spider-Man, there just aren't other superheroes to be with him, which is what we're getting since none of them know exactly who he is.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Spider-Man No Way Home didn't have any other MCU heroes in it either. It had Peter and Peter and Peter.
Doctor Strange.
Okay, you know what?
I
Yeah,
want
you're right.
that
I
tree.
totally forgot about Doctor Strange.
It's
But outside of
there.
him, any other ones?
But
Oh yeah, I forgot that too.
yeah, that's the main issue with the Spider-Man movies. Like up until No Way Home, I felt like, in his own movies, he gets overshadowed by the other Avengers characters. Well, actually, more when he teams up in an Avengers film, he feels lost in the shuffle. But then Sony, with their stupid ass, was like, we want Avengers characters in our Spider-Man movies. So Iron Man, the first film, second movie is Nick Fury, and the third movie, Doctor Strange. Granted, No Way Home was amazing, but it's just unnecessary, and it's taken away from his development. So I hope going forward, we can actually see him develop himself as a character without having other Avengers stuff coming in and shoehorning into the story. So
I think a lot of the issue with Spider-Man and even those universes as a whole, it's almost like a similar situation with WB. It kind of you just kind of have to point the finger at who's running the show. And honestly, when it comes to Morbius, look at the executive producer list. It's Avi Arad, Matt Tolmach, and they are the people responsible for Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2, and every single haphazard direction that took to trying to get the Sinister Six done, to Widow's point. It's, it's bad management.
Yeah, no, the chat is definitely like sharing a lot of like their opinions as well against reintegrating Andrew Garfield back into any type of cinematic universe that isn't the MCU proper. So I totally get that. But yeah, no, this has been a great like sort of like learning topic for me. Oh, did you want to add something?
yes, one more thing about the Sinister Six thing. The Sinister Six movie. This oh my god, this just doesn't make any sense to me. So if that's what they're building up to, they need some Spider-Man to go against them. Because if you're just gonna make a Sinister Six and not have Spider-Man fight them, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. So I don't understand. And then what Spider-Man is it gonna be? Is it gonna be Tom Holland? Is it gonna be Andrew Garfield? Are they gonna bring back 40-year-old Tobey Maguire to fight them? Like what? What is the lineup of Sinister Six? Like is since the Spider-Man villains have already appeared in previous movies, we just saw like a pre-Sinister Five, multiversal Sinister Five in No Way Home. We set up something for the Scorpion, but never paid off with it. Vulture is up in the air, may or may not be in Morbius, may be in the same universe. I don't know. What is this Sinister Six movie they're trying to do? They seem so obsessed to do the Sinister Six movie. Like I don't understand. Are people really excited to see this?
People
Like,
are
I don't-
excited.
Apparently,
People are-
wait till you apparently see the post-credit scenes. You'll be
Yep.
scratching your head and you'll get your
Yeah.
answer all
You'll
at
have
the
your
same
answer
time.
about the Vulture. Yeah.
And it makes no sense. None. But it'll be amazing when you see it, DL. I can't wait to hear what your thoughts on it.
Oh, I can't wait.
Tony is a slave for alliteration. Sinister Six. It sounds good. We're gonna do it.
Yeah, no. Any audience comments or anything else that y'all wanted to respond to? I'm just sort of like going through and acknowledging everyone. I kind of said my piece. I think y'all said it a lot more eloquently than I could. But yeah, while we're wrapping up this topic, and I'm getting through everyone's comments. Thank y'all for the feedback on the topic as well. We're going to transition over to the Star Wars content. Oh, actually, yeah, we'll do Star Wars and then we'll do the Batman Joker scene discussion. So yeah, Obi-Wan premiering in May. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen for the next article.
May 25th to be precise, and that is 45 years after the New Hope, something like that.
Interesting.
Somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah, so the latest article and like discussion on Obi-Wan is definitely around like the return of Darth Vader and potentially seeing Anakin without his helmet on. And I know having the helmet on and off has been like a big like point of discussion for a lot of like different shows recently. But yeah, I wanted to get y'all's take on having legacy characters return to the series, and if you feel like it's, you know, in due process to the impact that they left when we last saw them in their respective movies and other, you know, media, or do you feel like it's unnecessary and it just sort of removes the impact of that last impression for the character? Ashley, I would love to hear your thoughts on that topic.
I don't know. Like, I am very excited to see, you know, the characters come back and things like that, but like, I'm trying to understand with this show, Obi-Wan, how are you going to make this make sense to me with him, you know, supposed to be in hiding, and are they going to fight, and how does this, you know, go into the bigger universe?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm concerned about too. Like, is this going to be just sort of like a self-contained story that doesn't have any impact on anything else outside of it? Yeah, I'm not sure. DL, do you have any thoughts on legacy characters returning?
I have a lot. So it may sound like I'll be contradicting myself, but please, like, bear with me on this. I'm gonna try to take too long, but like, I feel like with the state of Star Wars right now, we are walking a very, very slippery slope. Coming off of The Mandalorian, which I thought was a very well-made show that, you know, that didn't rely on nostalgia and Easter eggs for you to truly appreciate how good the show was. And then we get into Book of Boba Fett, which, you know, I actually thought Book of Boba Fett was fine. Like, it had some enjoyable moments, but yeah, it had some messy stuff here and there. But that's where I feel like we need to be careful with us bringing back legacy characters, because, you know, it's not happening now. You know, we're still okay. I still enjoyed what they did in Book of Boba Fett, but like, I feel like if we keep going down this road of nostalgia and like legacy characters coming back, I feel like we're going to get into the same predicament that people didn't like about the sequel trilogy, relying so much on nostalgia. I've been saying for the longest time, it's time to get out of the timeline of the Skywalker saga and tell new stories. I've been wanting that for the longest time. Either a significant time, you know, fast forward in time, or significant time backwards, so we don't have to worry about characters coming up, or if it's consistent with the lore, whatnot. So I'm looking at this stuff with Darth Vader and stuff like that, and it's like, even though, yes, it'll be cool to see Hayden Christensen back, and, you know, Vader, you can't go wrong with Vader. I'm with Widow on, like, how are they going to make it make sense in the context of the continuity? Like, they're not even supposed to, like, fight right now, you know? That will take away from the emotional impact from A New Hope, like, you know? So it's like, I don't know how they're going to make it make sense. They're literally, I don't know. Like I said, we haven't seen the show. They may make it make sense, but, like, I just can't help but feel like they're just doing this because, oh, it's so cool. We got to see the rematch with Obi-Wan and Vader, man. We got to see it. But I'm thinking, wait. We don't need this. We don't.
That's exactly it.
No, yeah, I feel like that's kind of been echoed across a lot of, like, different discussions that I've been listening to, like, you know, lessening the impact of the last time that we've seen these characters in their previous, you know, films and other media. But yeah, Phil, now that you've returned, what are your thoughts on Vader returning to the Obi-Wan series? Do you feel like it lessens the impact he's left, or do you feel like it's welcome? There are some details we would still like to see transpire on screen.
Well, first of all, I think Darth Vader was the best part of Rogue One, so there's that.
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was, 100%. So for me personally, more Darth Vader is never a bad thing. I don't think it will lessen the impact. And the reason is because it's very vague on when, if you watch A New Hope, when Vader like feels Obi-Wan, he goes, I haven't felt that presence since. He never explicitly says when the last time him and Anakin, or him and Obi-Wan had a confrontation. Now, it's my understanding, I remember that they reworked the script of this and the whole Shabbat of Obi-Wan to cut out Darth Maul and bring in Darth Vader. And I think the reason for that is because they didn't want to tread too far into retreading over what happened in Star Wars Rebels, because in Star Wars Rebels, Obi-Wan and Darth Maul do have the rematch. And I think doing it again in live action, while me personally, I'd love to see that, I don't think it's going to happen, simply because that's Dave Filoni's pet project. That's his, addition to Star Wars. That's his whole shot to it. But I do think there is reason to have them confront each other again. And it might also be because of how, the fight in 1977, it is what it is because of the time frame. Like, I think people have been clamoring for a long time to see a modernized rematch of those two characters. And I honestly think, given the time frame, it does make sense, because Luke Skywalker's a young kid. It's way before he even finds out, Darth Vader's his father, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm excited. I'm a prequels kid. Like, I was born in 92. I remember watching the OG trilogy as a kid, and then getting to see Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith all in theaters growing up. And favorite character, Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I'm game for it, even if it might, piss some people off.
Yeah, no, a lot of people in the chat are agreeing with you as well that there are areas of interpretation in the past media that allows for this to make sense. I think it's just to DL's point, it's that emotional resonance of last seeing them that I'm still sort of hanging on to, because that is that left a lasting impression on how I experience cinema and TV and music and onward going forward. So changing that is just sort of I can only speak for my own experience, but it just sort of challenges that deeply embedded ability to perceive media that those characters left with me, seeing them while I was still learning what film is and what TV and media consumption is supposed to new leave an impact as. So yeah, I think that's kind of what it is. It's that visceral connection with these characters that's being challenged, that I think that's what these these new interpretations and representations of them in modern media is doing a little bit to people. But I'm still willing to check it out, obviously, because I still have that connection to these characters where I would like to see more media of them. It's just that having my own with personal connection with them now being made into something different, it's going to be a little off-putting at first, but I'm still open to checking it out.
Read Snyder Steppenwolf's comment, this purist. Rhea, most Star Wars fans like myself are against the rematch. Unlike you other ones, you casuals.
I am casual, but at the same time, I'm honest about my own emotions about it, but I'm still willing to give it a shot. Sorry, DL, go ahead.
That's okay. I interrupt you, but I'm sorry. Most Star Wars fans aren't even consistent with each other. So I don't know what you're talking about. Most Star Wars fans. This is why.
Wrong.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm going to say this. I hate Star Wars fans so much because they're inconsistent, and they argue with each other constantly over the littlest things. I'm not a hard Star Wars fan to please. I'll say this again, and I don't care what people think. I enjoyed the Rise of Skywalker. So, people just need to chill out a little bit. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I have no issue saying that. Honestly, I had no issue with the sequel trilogy too much. The Last Jedi is probably my least favorite of them all, but even still,
I thought it was fine. It was fine.
It's fine, but it's nowhere near the other two in terms of craft, cinematography, things like that. Sorry, just Rian Johnson. I don't think Rian Johnson.
I think it's Isaac's turn to talk. I think it's Isaac's turn. He can go next.
Well, I'm still appreciating this dialogue about it, because it's also helping me keep up as well. But yeah, Isaac, your thoughts on Darth Vader returning, legacy characters being reinterpreted and reimagined in new forms of media? Does that challenge your existing, relationships with these characters, and do you welcome it, or do you not welcome it?
Well, I'm fine with Darth Vader having a rematch with Obi-Wan, especially now that action choreography has improved in cinemas in recent years. I've not, ever since Rise of Skywalker, I've not been very confident with Disney Star Wars. I like Last Jedi, and I love Force Awakens, and I did like a Rogue One, and I like Solo, and I love Mando. I will say Book of Boba Fett was a little bit of a disappointment because he's one of my favorite characters in the original trilogy. But I am excited for the Obi-Wan series. The one thing that I really agree with Diao, and I think this is the second time I've agreed with him on this, is I am getting kind of tired with, let's go back to the same characters. Every Star Wars movie starts off with in a galaxy far, far away, but it seems like we keep going back to Tatooine, and I feel like it's just, we've been limiting what Star Wars can do. And don't get me wrong, I love Ewan McGregor. I love seeing him back as Obi-Wan, and of course I want to see Anakin again. But I want to move on to new stuff after this. I would really prefer, let's meet new characters, kind of like Mando. And I really hope that Star Wars moves on from the Skywalkers, because this is, again, a galaxy far, far away. I don't need to go back to the same family. And I'm really hoping that after Obi-Wan, or after the Ahsoka series and all that, I really hope Star Wars starts focusing on new projects. And the project Star Wars has currently lined up that I'm most excited for is actually Rogue Squadron, mainly for Patty Jenkins. But I do like how it's going to be like a new story, and I would like that. And and again, yes, there's a big pop. Like, my favorite scene in Mandalorian season 2 was the big Luke Skywalker scene. But I really just want to move on from now. Like, we've seen these characters grow. We've seen enough of them. Let's give a new character change. Kind of like what Marvel has done, where now you have Shang-Chi, you have the Eternals, you have Moon Knight. They're introducing new characters along the way rather than just going back to Iron Man, which I'm not even going to lie to you. I think in 5 years we're going to see Robert Downey Jr. back as Iron Man.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, no, I love it. Chill, how about you? I know you're having fun in the chat. So what are your thoughts?
I want to
See these
build
Star
on
Wars fans unleashed. Look at them. Look at them.
Phil was saying something about it used to be Darth Maul, that we switched it over to Darth Vader. Well, who would know better? Dave Filoni. I remember a little bit after hearing about the news of we're reworking the Kenobi show to make it better. That was about the time Dave Filoni became chief brand off creative. He got promoted. So I think that he stepped in, read the script, and he goes, no. Watch Rebels to season 3. Like, I think that Dave Filoni, worked this to make it make sense. So all of my worries and everything that we knew from the beginning of the announcement of the show, of how there's going to be a rematch of epic proportions, that was like 3 years ago now. And maybe that helped settle me into this fight that's inevitably going to happen. And then the reworking with what Filoni did helps. I got to watch the show, like DL saying. Like, we got to cannot judge it and cannot dismiss it immediately. I'm open to it. He says, I haven't sensed the presence since. He also says, when we last met, you were the master and I was the student. There's still room for all of that to be true. They haven't contradicted themselves yet. But boy, was I worried when Kathleen Kennedy announced it.
Wait, actually, a question. Is Rogue Squadron canceled?
Nah.
No.
It was like for a week, and then Kathleen Kennedy was like, no, I'll just drop this other project and make room for it.
Yeah, because I just Googled it, and everything's from November saying that it's just shelved right now.
Honestly, truthfully, my most anticipated Star Wars project that is not related to any of that is the Acolyte, because it's so far removed from the Skywalker
It's High Republic,
stuff.
right?
Yeah, it's High Republic. It's going to be like the first High Republic live action era Star Wars storytelling. And
Before everything, I was most excited for Book of Boba Fett just because I was expecting like a Godfather-like Star Wars series.
Sure, yeah.
Can we give some love to Star Wars Visions as well? That was like God tier to me.
I
that
like
was
that too.
so awesome.
Is it coming back for a new season?
I hope so. I haven't heard anything about it, but I hope they bring it back. It was so great.
Yeah, any like predictions or expectations for Mando season 3? Like, do you feel like this will be the final season? Ashley, do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, from everything that I heard, that this season 3 is supposed to be the final season, unless that's changed. I think season 3 is supposed to be the last season. The only things that I feel like that we'll see, obviously now, I don't like that what they did in Book of Boba Fett, where Grogu made that big decision off camera to go back with Mando, and we didn't see that, and then we didn't see that in the context of the Mandalorian, you know, so that really was really annoying. So hopefully, even though like it doesn't mean as much, I still want to see something that shows him having this process of thinking that through, and then just the, you know, where that journey leads to them next. I don't want to, and I don't want it to become like, you know, like random cameos at certain points, because like it seemed really weird in like the Book of Boba Fett, like when Mando goes to see Luke and he's looks amazing, you know, the CGI, and then it's just like, oh, let's put Luke in here because it would be cool, and let's put Ahsoka in here because, you know, she'll be like, well, I'm off to my next adventure. So hopefully we don't have like these little silly moments that don't progress the story along. I don't want it to become like these mini moments of like little bitty cameos, you know, thrown about. You know, hopefully it'll be, you know, a great action story, stuff with the Darksaber, you know, things like that, and, you know, Grogu coming into this life, you know, as a Mandalorian.
Yeah, totally. Any thoughts from the panel before we transition to the next topic? Expectations for Mandalorian season 3. Anything that y'all want to see come from the series afterwards, like in any spin-offs or anything like that? DL?
I mean, I hope in season 3 we pick up with Bo-Katan and stuff on Mandalore, because that was something that they heavily teased at the end of season 2. Yeah. So I hope they do some payoff with that. As far as other spin-offs I want to see, I don't know right now. I hope Andor is good. I don't know. I didn't like him in Rogue One, but I'm hoping his show will make me, you know, appreciate it a little bit more. Yeah, that's all I got. Yeah, me neither.
Andor, I've got no interest.
Pushing so hard.
Are they making that show? Like,
yes,
what?
They are, and they already greenlit a season 2. They already greenlit a season 2. We didn't see the first one. What? Why are you so confident about the show?
They have so much faith in it. You know?
Yeah,
so weird.
Yeah, Phil, you said that the best part of Rogue One for you was Darth Vader. Who we might, I doubt we'll see him in the Andor show. Maybe we will, because
please
fans
don't.
of that show remember him from that series, or that movie.
So. You know what? I'd much rather see Darth Maul in Andor, because then at least that show that it would have something interesting to offer. But
more power to you, Hans. More power to you.
You know what? I'm actually like really shocked that we're not getting any like announced Darth Maul content, especially after where we left off with
Solo. Solo.
Yeah, Solo. Yes, thank you. Exactly. And there was all these expectations of his apprentice Kira and him, you know, like there's nothing as far as like the foreseeable future that we have announced for that duo. Oh, Chill, you look like you're about
Instagram. Ray Park is his Instagram leaks. Remember that thing that came out that was adult content on his Instagram?
But do you think that was really the reason why they canceled it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's Disney, maybe.
True. Yeah. All right. This is awesome. I appreciate y'all sharing your thoughts on all the latest Star Wars news. We're gonna transition to the Batman deleted scene of the Joker. Phil, I never got to chat with you about your reception to the Batman movie. I know you're a huge fan of it, but I would love to hear your thoughts first on the deleted scene while I pull up the article.
Well, I'm probably gonna go see it a fourth time later today, as soon as I'm done mowing the lawn. Really, like you mentioned, I did like it, loved it quite a fair bit. It's hands down my favorite live action solo Batman film. I'm asterisk there, solo. This sequence to me, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the way that it was done. I do think that the makeup is a little reminiscent of Heath Ledger's, but I don't think that that's wholly intentional. I think for the most part that maybe Matt Reeves, Barry Keoghan were going for like a Liber Mayhew-ish kind of design, but even then, that was kind of modeled after Heath Ledger's anyway. I do think, overall, I do think the makeup is a little too reminiscent of that version of the Joker, despite the hair having some very obvious differences. But especially in the cheeks and the smile is really where it's really prevalent for me. But overall, you know, I actually really liked it. You know, I've seen a lot of people share the sentiment that they were glad this is cut. Me personally, I would have loved to see where this fit in. And honestly, I think it fits in right after the commissioner dies. But I can understand why it was cut, but even still, I wish it wasn't because it's pretty effing cool.
Yeah, totally. I am still trying to decide if I would have liked to see this included in the film or not. If for me personally, it would have probably needed some additional
Context.
Additional context, additional footage in order to kind of like frame it. But Ashley, did you get a chance to watch the clip, and what are your thoughts on it?
Yes, I saw the clip. I'm on the team that I'm glad it wasn't in the movie. I also, and for basic reasons, I don't think the lighting on Pattinson in the scene, I thought there was a lot of lighting issues, and I think that he didn't look so well in a lot of those scenes. I did like the conversation back and forth between the two of them, but I feel like if you would have kept that in the film, it did take a lot away from the Riddler. Like if you would have kept that in the film as is, you know, it's like he's then having this conversation with him. So then when he goes to have the conversation in the hospital with the Riddler, it doesn't have the same weight to it because he lets all that information slip instead of the early hints. Oh, this guy might be like you. I feel like it would have taken away from the Riddler. I liked the scene. I thought that it worked really well. I liked the fact that, you know, he had hair missing on his head, the blisters on his lips, all of that. Like, to me, the only thing that really... There's two things about it that remind me of Heath Ledger. He's a Joker, and he's talking to Batman, and he's, being held. Not in a jail cell, but, he's not at a desk, but he's behind, at the hospital. To me, those are the only similarities, really, between the two. I don't like the fact that maybe this Joker, didn't fall in a vat of acid, that maybe he was born this way. Hopefully, that'll be something different if he does stick around. I don't like that, but to me, I like the scene. I'm glad that it wasn't in the film, but it was cool to see it, and I think that it worked really well.
Yeah, DL, did you get a chance to watch the clip, and what are your thoughts on it? Do you think it should have been included? Glad it's cut. Any superfluous thoughts around that?
You sure you want me to go next?
Yes, I do. I am sure.
Okay. Time to get canceled. I didn't like it. I don't like it. I watched this thing 10 times, and yeah, I'm sorry. I don't like this at all. As far as the scene itself, yep, I'm a hater. Go ahead, you put it in the chat. Hashtag cancel DL. But as far as the scene itself, I don't have a problem with how it's directed, how it's structured. I actually think it's an interesting dynamic we haven't seen in a Batman film. That Batman's trying to get information out of the Joker in the cell. That's really cool. That's interesting. His design, I hate it. I don't like it. And this has come from someone. I guess I should put some context. Because this reminds me a lot of the Joker from the New 52, where he cut his face up and he has a bunch of, birds, the scratches or whatever. Yeah. Yep, and he's a serial killer that eats people and stuff like that. I do not like that Joker at all. I don't like it. I can't stand it. I don't understand people that enjoy it, but then they want to lose their minds when he has tattoos. I'm like, what?
Did they say he eats people?
There is comic books where Joker eats people like Hannibal Lecter. Yeah. I don't know why.
I don't enough Joker stuff. That's gross.
No. So that really reminded me of that. He looks so disfigured, where he doesn't look recognizable, and I'm sure people like that. That gives him an edge and stuff like that. But I just feel like it's something that's unnecessary for the Joker to have. I don't know. It also reminds me a lot of how they fucked up his design in the Gotham TV show. They did the same thing with him cutting off his face, and then he looks all decrepit and stuff with barely have any hair on it. It reminds me of that weird stuff they were doing with the Joker. I didn't like that. I didn't like it at all. As far as his performance, it was fine. As you guys said, it reminded me a lot of a mixture of Heath Ledger and Jared Leto put together. But I'm sorry, I don't like it. I try to get myself to like it, but I don't. I appreciate them trying to do something different, but this is just too extreme for me. I don't like it. I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate when folks like you and Isaac are just feel super comfortable to like be totally transparent about your honest feelings about stuff, especially when it's not always the consensus of everyone else on the panel. So yeah, thank you so much for being like super duper honest about your feelings for it. I do want to ask ChillMonger, did you get a chance to see the clip? What are your thoughts on it?
No.
It's a hard no for you.
We haven't seen it.
Do you mind expanding on that?
It's DC. I never just put aside the time to watch the 5-minute Joker clip. Maybe I'll get to it, possibly, but I didn't check it out.
Oh, gotcha.
No
okay.
one ever called me a shill again. This man didn't even watch it.
Is that just like a blatant
Lacey's on it.
I
refusal to
could have
do it?
opened it up while we were talking, and then 5 minutes would have passed when it was my turn, but I just said no.
So you just have like no interest to see it at all?
Not really. Should I?
I mean, it's up to
Why
you.
not?
Like,
Have you seen the Batman?
Yeah. I like the Batman, but it was a 3-hour movie, and I don't need it to be 3 hours and 5 minutes.
Fair. That's fair.
alrighty. Isaac, your thoughts on the cut Joker clip?
I like the scene, and I am excited to see Barry Keoghan as the Joker. I will say, when we first found that out, I was like, really? A Scottish guy as Joker? Then I heard his voice, and I was like, all right, it sounds pretty good. I like the design. It reminds me of the new 52 version. It's not. I wouldn't say it's the best. I do think Heath and Joaquin had better designs. The deleted scene itself. So I love the Batman. I think the Batman is a fantastic film in and of itself. I did have two negatives. One of them is what ChillMonger just pointed out, which is the movie's a little too long. There's some scenes in the movie. It felt like this movie didn't know when to end. And then the other criticism I had was the Joker scene in the movie itself. I felt like the scene it felt too weird for the movie. It felt like, when you watch a movie, you feel like you're in that world. But when I watched that scene in the theater, it took me out of it for like a couple of minutes. So I'm glad this scene wasn't added on, because it felt too on the nose. It wouldn't have fit the flow of the film itself. I do like that they show that this Batman and Joker already have history, so they're setting up a rivalry. But overall, I'm glad while I like the scene a lot, and I do like how Joker predicted everything really well, I'm still glad that they deleted it, because the scene was needed, just like that scene that we already had in the theatrical movie. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
Awesome. Yeah, no. Y'all in the chat, please behave. Our panel is full of really awesome, diverse thinking individuals who are well informed on the media that they are commenting on, and I respect all of their opinions and rights to express the opinions that they have. So yes, please, I just want to add that. So please behave in the chat. While we are... go ahead.
If everyone in this panel can behave and not attack anyone for a difference of opinion, everyone in the chat should be able to do the same thing.
Yes, please. I would greatly appreciate that. All are welcome to, share their thoughts and respond to one another in the chat as well as on the panel. But please make sure to make our guests feel welcome in this space that I have invited them to. So yeah, on that note, we are going to transition to our final topic of the day, Moon Knight. So that is the property that is going to be coming out very soon. And while I'm pulling up the article, Ashley, I would love to hear your thoughts going into the week that we are going to be watching the show, and any anticipation or expectations around it.
I'm interested to see how they incorporate Mark Spector in all of this, because I feel like that he might be forgotten a bit instead of being the main, and then like these alternate personas like spring off him. I think that like Steven is going to be the main guy that we're going to see, and then Mark is going to creep in there. So I'm a little worried about that, but I'm excited to see it. 3 a.m. gang. I'll be up 3 a.m. ready to watch this. Excited. So I'm really excited. The only thing that I'm curious with, no tie-ins, which I want it to be something that stands alone on its own, but then I'm curious, where will we see him again? But I'm excited to see Moon Knight. I just hope it's not, the end, which I don't believe it will be the end of his character, but, Yeah, I'm a big fan of Oscar Isaac, so I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, same. I am excited to see his portrayal of this character too. DL, do you have any anticipation for this series? Are you going to be watching it or following it?
Yeah, I'm going to be watching it. I'm not going to wait till 3 o'clock in the morning to watch it, but I'm definitely tuning in for it. It looks really interesting. It looks really different from what Marvel's been doing up until this point. So, and I love Oscar Isaac, and I'm glad he's in this. So I'm definitely going to be watching it for him. As far as the Moon Knight character, I know very little about him, and I know he has so many different portrayals. I've known him when he's practically known as the Batman knockoff, so I don't know about the other versions they're trying to mix into here. So pretty much it's going to be like a new experience for me. But going into this, I haven't been the biggest fan of the Marvel shows outside of What If, which I thought was pretty solid. But yeah, I'm one of the few people that didn't really like the Marvel shows up to this point, but I'm hoping they'll get their act together with this one, and same thing with Miss Marvel and She-Hulk and stuff like that. So, we'll wait and see. So I'm trying not to have my expectations too high, but this does look good.
Yeah, totally. Phil, what are your thoughts on Moon Knight? Are you going to be following the series or covering it?
Yeah, I'll definitely be watching it. I know next to nothing about the character too much. My friend Chris has told me a lot about him. I'm curious to see if they will introduce, because obviously, it looks like Stephen Grant's going to be the main host of, that character, because obviously he suffers from dissociative identity disorder, and there's 3 personalities within the same body. So we know Mark Spector's for sure going to show up. I wonder if Jake Lockley's going to show up too. Very curious to see the transitions between, Mark Spector, Steve Grant, the Moon Knight persona, the Mr. Knight persona. All that stuff kind of has me intrigued. Unlike DAL, I actually liked a lot of the Marvel stuff, but I'm still kind of middle road on most of it. My favorite is probably Loki. Of the 4 that happened last year, or was it 5? 5 of the 5 that happened last year. I think Miss Marvel looks fun, but I really am looking forward to Moon Knight. I think it looks exquisitely different from anything that they've done before, which, with Marvel, that's always their big W. Anytime they ever do anything vastly different than what they've done before, it usually pans out well for them in the long run. And I think Moon Knight is very much going to be in that same vein.
No, totally. Going into this series, I'm excited to be following it and chatting about it with everyone. And my knowledge on the character is almost non-existent before this property was announced. So I'm eager to learn more about them as the show ramps up. Isaac, anticipation, excitement for the series. Any expectations or knowledge about the character going in?
Oh, heck yeah. You have no idea how much I've loved Moon Knight ever since I was a kid, reading all the comics. For Moon Knight, I always felt like he was a character who never got respect, because a lot of people considered him a knockoff Batman, which, to be honest, he was for a while. But Batman's also my favorite. No, it's fine, because I agree with that, even though I love Moon Knight. I've been very excited ever since they announced it. I was so happy, because it's always been the character I felt never got its respect in live action. I'm surprised it took them this long to finally get one. And they casted Oscar Isaac. I love Oscar Isaac. He's a tremendous actor. And also they got Ethan Hawke, which I was surprised, especially because 3 years back he made some comments saying he didn't like comic books, series, and movies. Now, about the Disney Plus Marvel stuff, I loved WandaVision. I remember I would have an alarm up for 2 a.m. every morning just for WandaVision. But besides that, every show has had flaws to me, and one of the flaws is it seems like they have a lot of filler episodes, which is weird because each of them have 6 episodes. And that's something I don't like about the Marvel Disney Plus. So besides WandaVision, I did like Loki. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I liked it enough, but it didn't live up to all the expectations I had. And Hawkeye felt overly comedic, but one of my worries about the Disney Plus Marvel stuff is it feels too fillery, and then they wait until the end to show you a big bad, kind of like they did with Kingpin and Hawkeye. And I'm really hoping Moon Knight changes that narrative. I really hope Moon Knight. I don't think Moon Knight's going to be as good as WandaVision, because I really loved WandaVision. But I'm really hoping Moon Knight does live up to what the comics had, especially with the whole dissociative identity disorder. I do wonder, one of my favorite movies in the last 5 years or 6 years has been that one M. Night Shyamalan movie, Split, with, I forgot what the actor's name is, but he plays Charles Xavier.
James McAvoy.
Yeah, and what I like how James McAvoy was able to portray different personalities, because that's really difficult for any actor to do. I'm excited to see what they do with Oscar Isaac, and I'm looking forward to it. But I really hope the Marvel series trope doesn't follow this show too.
Totally. Last but not least, Chill. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on your coverage for this series and thoughts on it going into it.
Well, I'll be covering it on the channel Second Street Marvel with Trinity, and then I'll just be doing review reaction type things. But with this show having a god, like literally the word god, Khonshu, like this is some shit that is kind of new. And with him being a brand new character, I'm not worried about what happened in WandaVision that we disliked, what happened in Loki that we disliked, or Falcon Winter Soldier. This is a brand new character. We're getting to introduce somebody with no, like how Hawkeye had 2 Hawkeyes basically. We introduced Kate, but Clint was there too. There's really nothing to kind of include itself, like sort of your Spider-Man complaint about how there's always a MCU thing. From what I see, if we do get some connections of characters from other franchises, they're not going to be too essential to the whole story, possibly an episode 6 type thing. So there's a lot going for it. It is also an actor's dream to be playing a guy with like triple personas. This is something that Oscar Isaac jumped on, and I'm happy he did. He's a qualified actor and fan favorite actor. So yeah, they're doing the right thing by getting him. I am hyped. I like that it's a 6-episode format rather than a film. There's a lot to be positive about here. From the trailer, unlike Ms. Marvel, it feels like they are paying homage and doing the character right, the way that it's supposed to be done. You would know better than I do, Isaac, but is it actually what was happening in Moon Knight comic books from the trailer?
It feels like it's a mixture of, because Moon Knight did start off as more of a Batman ripoff, but they transitioned. But looking at the trailers, it seems like it's a mixture of both, while also doing something unique in its own.
I think they're only doing Stephen Grant and Mark Spector. They're not. I think that he's only going to have the 2 personas from everything that I'm seeing in the show.
Yeah, but they always withhold things from like the further episodes. You never know.
I know, but it just seems just like it might just be the 2 of them.
As far
based
as
off promotion, there's 2 of him in the promotion artwork for the show. I mean, it's just little bitty hints like that. It's not what things I'm seeing in the trailer. It's things I'm seeing in the promotional art as well.
That's your second little bitty that you dropped.
the question that Snyder had in the chat, one of 2. Question for you, Ashley, in the panel. Do you guys think that the villain Bushman might get a tease in the Moon Knight show? For folks more knowledgeable on the series, can you speak to this, or do you think that would be a later on addition?
I'm like, when it comes to Moon Knight and like Midnight Suns villains, I'm not really knowledgeable. I've read a few Moon Knight stuff, so that would probably be a better question for Isaac or ChillMonger, really.
Yeah, I honestly never cared about what villains they have, because the reality is it doesn't matter as long as it fits the script. I mean, we live in a world where Polka Dot Man is now a fan favorite. I would have never thought that literally a year ago.
No, totally. Chill, did you have anything to add on to that first question?
Well, Moon Knight's not Polka Dot Man. Moon Knight he's somewhere in like that Black Panther tier of characters who they've been around, they're known, they're respected. If you're like a comic book guy, but they've never broke through.
Right.
Yeah.
Second question from Snyder. For you in the panel, do you think Moon Knight show will be more mature and violent? That Moon Knight show might lead into Midnight Suns show?
I think that's wishful thinking, but
Yeah.
I hope it is more adult and mature, because I feel like Marvel needs to go in that direction, because they've been relying so much on the levity and the humor and stuff like that. So it'll be nice to have an actual show where it is a little bit more mature. Yeah.
Any thoughts on that, Chill?
R-rated.
Oh, they ain't gonna do it.
Yeah, you're muted.
I was reading the live chat. What did I miss?
Oh, second question. Do you think this will lead into Midnight Suns?
Oh, sure, yeah, of course. Especially that we don't know exactly where Moon Knight is going next, it's probably because there's going to be a show reveal the same way Book of Boba Fett was revealed after Mando. Sure, I can see that happening. There's a lot that we don't know about. Go ahead.
And I was going to say, Dane Whitman, he's in Blade too, so I think they're kind of already like trying to build this, this other thing. So yeah,
With their little bitty post-credit scenes, one by one.
Yeah, I think they are kind of building towards something to that vein. I mean, you know, Dane Whitman was talking to Blade at the end of the Eternals. Oh man, where was I going? Loki got its confirmation of a season 2 in the season 1 finale. So I think whatever happens with Moon Knight going forward will probably more than likely be addressed in the last episode of this season.
Yeah, no, totally. And like to Donovan's point, the MA content coming onto the Disney Plus platform, does that give you more optimism or hope for content to become less like, to a lot of critics, you know, opinions being like a lot of like cookie cutter, family favorite, like kind of eye rolling humor, stuff like that at the lowest points of like, you know, the criticism for those properties, because granted they are all really well made and well executed. But yeah, do you see this as like a good thing for, you know, content going forward, or does it not really impact it for you?
Yeah, it gives me some optimism that I never expected them to put mature content on Disney Plus, but I think this is like a step in the right direction where we probably will get some more adult content stuff in the future. I don't think it'll be really soon. I think it'll be a very, very, very slow progression. We got to see how the audience reacts to it, but yeah, it's like it opens the door a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like skeptical if like this means any new content will be MA, or if they'll just be posting legacy content that is MA on their platform. Like, because I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that it's a good thing from what they've told us about maybe things like Deadpool and certain things, but like I don't think that like everybody needs to get like all excited, like, oh, they're gonna make like this more edgy adult content. No. Because what is their thing? They make content for everyone. So they try to pull in as many different people as they possibly can, right? So everyone can have that experience. Now, and I think that maybe maybe some stuff with like the Midnight Suns, that might be a little bit darker and edgy when they're in their own films together. But when they do like crossover stuff, it'll be tamed down a bit. And maybe we'll get more of an edgy Blade film. I don't think it's going to be rated R by any means. I think the only rated R movie that we're probably gonna get is Deadpool 3. And even that like has me up in the air about it, because Sean Levy, the type of movies that he directs, and now he's directing the movie. So if it is a rated R movie, it's going to be very like soft R, but still like you have those parental controls on Disney Plus. So you can put that film there. And then you also have to think, is there a market? Are people clicking on that content enough for it to be worth it for them, too, on Disney Plus? You have to think about it that way as well.
Do you think that Moon Knight is going to need like these teases of Ghost Rider or Blade, or do you think that it will probably not introduce those because of the strength of the character will keep people invested in and of itself? Like, any thoughts around that?
You don't need it.
Yeah,
you don't need it, but it'll be welcome.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's how I feel too.
It would be a nice bonus.
Yeah, I don't think that we need it here at all, especially with who your lead is here, and just like the whole feel of the show. I don't think that we need that. It'd be good, but I think that they're trying to make it. They were trying to go about it. Yes, of course this is in the MCU, but we're not worried about tying everything together and bringing things in.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that too. But yeah, no, I think that covers all of our topics. We're coming up on like the 70-ish minute mark. So I don't want to keep y'all too busy on this lovely Sunday afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, and I will start with the outros. Ashley, where can we find you at, and what will you be blessing us with content-wise this week? Well,
this week, probably doing the show on sjk.sanctum, the takeover this week. Took a break last week, and then just a few people's streams that I hang out with, and I've got a video that I'm gonna put out very soon, in a few days. So that's about it on the Widow. That's
awesome. And where can we find? Yes, and please, Ashley's links are in the description as well. Her Twitter page, as well as her YouTube channel, The Widow 31. Please go follow her there. And K-Dots' channel will also be linked in the description too, so you can catch her Tuesday show. And DL, where can we find you at, and what are you currently working on?
Y'all can find me on YouTube at I Am DL, where I talk about movies and shows and everything in nerd and geek culture, and you can hear all my crazy hot takes on things. So the next stuff coming up on the channel soon, I probably will do my own video breaking down the Joker scene from the Batman. And then going to be doing Sonic reviews. I'm going to talk about the first live-action Sonic movie leading up to Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Really excited for that. And then I got a lot of catching up to do with Marvel. So I'm going to try and get some Marvel reviews out before Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness comes out. I'm going to catch up with all the shows and movies on that. Some DC stuff coming your way. Some Star Wars stuff coming your way. So yeah, that's all the stuff coming.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And also just a heads up for folks looking for DL, Chill, and Yellow and I's review for the Sonic movie. It did get copyright claimed, so I'm in the process of trimming out the segments that were copyright claimed so we can get that back up, because it was a lot of fun streaming with y'all, so I do want that visible as soon as possible.
Anyway, they weren't going to catch that video too, because like the small little OVA, they don't care about that.
Bandai came and was just like, bam, copyright claim. But yeah, Phil, thank you so much for joining us for the panel, offering your expertise, knowledge, and all that stuff. Where can we find you at, and what are you currently working on?
Well, if anyone wants to follow me on it's Twitter, Vero, Instagram, just at the tag right there, Unfiltered. You can also listen to my 2 podcasts. I'm working on one with my buddy Mike Craig called The Eternal Night, just a Batman podcast. We actually just did an episode with our friend Jared Boots from the Nerd Night of Nation show. We did a Batman v Superman retrospective 6 years after the fact. Talked about a little bit about Batman the Animated Series. We try and do one episode with every episode. We're currently watching on HBO Max, and then we also did kind of a breakdown of the Joker sequence that was released from the Batman. I do have another show, Superhero Stress, which I'm sure we'll probably talk about Moon Knight there, a couple other things. But yeah, that's about where you all can find me. You can also find me on the 4 Nerds Network, mostly on Thursdays. You can also catch me on the ACS Universe most Fridays.
Awesome. Yeah, I linked your podcast page as well as your Twitter onto the description as well. Be sure to catch Phil on YouTube, like you said, with the 4 Nerds and ACS as well, streaming with those folks. And Isaac, Multiverse of Movies / Reverse Max. Where can we find you at, and what are you currently working on?
You can find me on Multiverse of Movies on YouTube. I stream every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm debuting 2 shows this week, one on Thursday, one on Friday. On Thursday, we have a new series called Across the Multiverse, where we're going to interview, fellow YouTubers, fellow content creators, talk about why they love movies. And the other show I'm debuting on Friday is a new series called Flashback Friday, which is every Friday we're going to discuss, a movie in the past, kind of a spoiler discussion. And we're going to start off with Watchmen this week.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. And again, Isaac's Twitter and YouTube page are linked in the description. Please go check him out. And again, last but not least, ChillMonger, thank you so much for joining us, albeit last minute. Where can we find you at, and what are you currently working on?
Every Saturday, I do a live stream on my channel, ChillMonger, called 33 Burning Questions. I did Star Wars yesterday. Next week, it's the MCU. So join at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Awesome. And that's ChillMonger on YouTube as well as Twitter. Links in the description. Again, thank y'all so much for spending the afternoon with me talking about the latest week of movie news and TV news. And thank you, chat, for keeping it entertaining and lively. I appreciate y'all. And yeah, this has been episode 28 of the Glimmercast. We're going to go ahead and sign out and play the outro music. And y'all take care. All right. See you later. Bye.